And hello, folks. How are we? You are very, very welcome to my live. Just get a little bit more light here. There we go. How are we doing, folks? Lovely to see everybody here. Folks are hopping in. I am across a few different channels at the moment. I am on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we are on Instagram as well. So yeah, across a few different channels. I hope everybody is doing well, and thank you so much for hopping in here. My name is Paddy, and I am sharing my weight loss journey online. I have been on a medically supported weight loss journey for the past 18 months or so. And I've been trying my best to share as much of that as I can kind of with people, to kind of give people an insight to it. Bear with me while I'm faffing here as well, still trying to just make sure everything is the way it's meant to be. I'm going to be going through a little bit of my journey with you, going to be sharing some insights on that. If you do have any stuff, feel free to pop any of the comments in, and I'll try and keep an eye on them in all of the different places. Stephen is in with, EI1027 on TikTok. You are the first person to be able to write the word Paddy, believe it or not, in a comment. Longtime viewers on my TikTok will know that anytime you try to type the word Paddy, it would never work. And now it has. Oh my God, that is amazing. Stephen is asking, Paddy, where did you get your DEXA scan done? So I got my DEXA scan done in a place called GP Care in Galway. I think it was about 80 euro or so that I paid to get it done there. But yeah, so that's kind of where I got it. Will I see what other bits and pieces, folks? So I guess I'll go back to the start of my journey. I started about kind of May time of last year. I started kind of, I guess, thinking a bit more about weight loss and about, like so many of us again, like kind of thinking, am I always just going to be fat? Is this my lot? Am I just going to always be fat? And I had tried every diet under the sun. I had counted calories, I had counted macros, I had you name it, and I had done it in terms of calories, in terms of weight loss, in terms of like slimming clubs and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of come home from a holiday in America, and I was looking at some pictures, and I was kind of like, oh my God, like I look very big. I look very, very big there. And I kind of started looking into it, and the more that I looked into the weight that I was and the impact that weight was actually going to have on me, it kind of hit home at me that the research was showing that there was a real chance that I was actually going to cut my longevity short by like about like 10, 12 years, I think it was that it said, that basically, yeah, I was going to be cutting my life short by 10 to 12 years if I stayed at the weight that I was at. And this was so frustrating because obviously I had tried like everything before. Like I had tried, I'd say everything. And at that point, I was weighing in at just over 24 stone. And I had kind of thought that, either I just accept that this is life and I'm going to die earlier than I need to because I'm just exhausted from trying everything, or I look to see is there something more out there that might be able to help me. And this was then where I guess I found out about like GLP-1 medications and treatments and stuff like that. I think like a lot of people, I had heard about Ozempic, for example, but kind of thought, that was just something that was for the rich people of Hollywood. They could afford the 2,000-3,000, whatever it was a month at the time there. And I started looking into it more and more, and then kind of realized, oh, well, actually, this is used in Ireland and in the UK as well. Off-label, it was being used at that point, and there was a lot of controversy about it because there was shortages There was a lot of stigma, a lot of taboo about kind of these medications. I think there probably still is, as well, if I'm honest. But when I looked into it, I started seeing that in the UK they had other types of medications that were similar, but that were different as well. So I kind of thought that, okay, let's look into this. What is available in the UK? Are they available in Ireland? And they weren't. Like in Ireland at that time, it was, I think Saxenda was available here, which was similar-ish kind of. That was the one that was being used to kind of treat obesity and stuff like that. Then there was Orlistat. If anyone has ever been on Orlistat or Xenocol, like, oh my God. I'd love to know actually if anyone has ever been in Orlistat or Xenocol. Type a comment. I don't know if I'm seeing all the comments everywhere, but I'm trying to keep an eye on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook comments that are coming, because I'm live streaming on all of those at the moment. But with Orlistat, that was a whole other experience, and I never had any success on it. Like, I was on that multiple times. I still have tablets in the house from when I had been on that before, but it had never been a success for me. So I seen at that point about Mounjaro, which was available in the UK. And I was quite lucky that I lived right on the border at that point. Prescriptions from the south of Ireland are valid in the north of Ireland. So at that point, it was something that was actually relatively easy for me to be, I won't say prescribed, but in terms of access, it was easy enough. And I had a discussion at that time with a weight management clinic that I was with, a different one that I'm currently with. I was with a different company at the start, whom I since moved from because I wasn't happy with them. But at that point, that's where I was accessing my support and kind of my treatment. And they agreed that, Mounjaro would be a suitable thing for me to be prescribed. So I had that prescribed to me, and I started on it in June of last year. And my God, I was amazed at how quickly my body responded to it. Like, I was blown away. I had not anticipated how quickly my body would respond. And again, as I do always say, my response is not what everyone else should be expecting either. Okay, I would deem myself to have been quite a quick responder. Not everybody is, and that should not be what you're expecting if you're on this medication. I always stress that, because people always compare themselves to other people and then get disappointed if they don't start to see the same results and all this kind of stuff. And it's so important that you are trying not to do that, because this is a medication. It's not a diet. And your biology and your lifestyle and day to day is really going to influence kind of how this works for you, kind of in comparison to other people. And you might be somebody that's not a responder, but that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or that it's a failure or anything like that. And it's so important to really try and get your head around that. I do see some of the questions coming in, folks. I will get to those, so feel free to keep them coming wherever you're watching. But so anyway, I started. I'm going to show you my kind of, you may have already seen this, but this was the start of my journey, and then the kind of most recent picture. So at the start of this picture, I was 24 stone, just over 24 stone. And picture in the right is me at 8.5 stone down at roughly 15 stone 8-ish, I think 15 stone 7, something like that. I can't recall the exact number, but 8.5 stone down. And if I show you this from the side, this is the side view. Apologies if, like, you're like, oh, there's a fat man on my screen. But I think the pictures do help kind of tell the stories when they do as well. But yeah, so this was kind of the side profile of my picture, and I said that's the kind of front one, kind of just to show the difference in my kind of, I guess, body during that period of time, and what 8.5 stone difference looks like. I think for me, like, I can see, like, on my neck, like my chest, my stomach in particular. But again, like from the front view, you can see like there's still very much love handles there. My rib cage is quite pronounced actually, but I do have a tummy there. Um, and I think that um, a lot of people say, oh, you don't have loose skin or stuff like that. Like I do have skin that is soft, but I still have fat there. That's the thing. Like, and that's why when it comes back to this idea of people kind of saying, oh, don't lose any more weight, it's like, but you're not living my body, you're not living my journey. You don't have what I have, like I'm basing this on the work with my doctors, the work with kind of health results with DEXA scans, like we touched on a moment ago. All that kind of stuff is informing me as to when, okay, Paddy, you definitely need to lose any more weight. And I'm not deluded about that. I'm being very, very data informed in terms of where my body is and that kind of stuff. But like the thing is, I know if I was to go by, say, a BMI, I will never go as low as what BMI would like me to be as low as. If BMI had its way, I would be something like, I think 12 and a half stone. I'll never be that. I will never, and I have zero intention or desire to ever be that weight. I mean, like from this kind of picture here, like I am, I know I'm not ripped. I will never be ripped because I would have excess skin, if I was trying to get that low. But like looking from the side, there isn't a huge amount of more weight there that I would want to lose for me to be content. Like I'm reckoning maybe a stone, actually probably even less than that if I'm honest. And then I'll be, I guess, kind of content with where my body is. Recently on the podcast, I do a podcast with my partner in crime, Belinda, and we were talking recently, like, would I ever think about like surgery for kind of the tummy area or that? And like looking at this picture here, it's actually the area that kind of bothers me the most is actually my chest. So I had surgery back in 2011 for gynecomastia, which is a condition that men, not only men that are obese, you can have extremely fit, sporty lads that suffer from gynecomastia as well. But to essentially remove, I had full on the equivalent. I'd give any woman a run for her money with the kind of breast that I had. And I had surgery to help me with that. So what that meant is that there's not very small, but there's a little pocket of skin kind of on my chest on the left and right hand side. And I'd love to get that kind of done, to be honest, at some point. But then the tummy, like I'm not overly bothered. Like I'll never have a tight tummy ever. Because of there has been so much weight there over the time. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point I explored maybe, oh well, how much would it cost if I did want to get the skin tightened on my tummy? But I'm very aware as well that like I'm heading towards 44 next year. I know that probably the older you are, the more difficult it becomes to recover and heal from these surgeries and all that kind of stuff. So there are things as well. I don't know. There's a lot for me to kind of think about there. But right now, where my head is at, I'm kind of like, do you know what? I'm kind of very happy where I am. If I'd have thought that if somebody would have been telling me that I would have lost like 8.5 stone in under a year or in about a year, I wouldn't have believed you. I absolutely wouldn't have believed you. Like I remember when I used to go to the slimming clubs, and one of the things was like, oh, even if you lose like a pound a week, it's like 52 pounds in a year, or even half a pound. And I used to think, oh my god, yeah, even that'd be amazing. And it is amazing. So to have like lost considerably more than that is just unbelievable for me. The other thing that's really important here as well is that I will never give the credit just to the medication, okay? Because as I say, medication is only one part of this journey. It is so critically important that you are also focusing on your movement, okay? Ideally, your strength training, and your nutrition, obviously, like any wellness journey when you're trying to lose weight, or indeed if you're trying to bulk up, the reverse of this, those aspects are critical. So for those people that say, oh, this is the easy way out, like, just eat less, move more. First of all, that is a load of BS. We know that. For people that are living with the disease of obesity, they probably know nutrition better than the average person on the street. And this is not in place of, improve nutrition and improve focus on your movement. This is in addition to those. What I have found is that what I have been on my journey, because I've had more mental capacity and been able to think about things a bit better, that has freed me up to not be so consumed with thinking about food that I've been able to be more adherent to going and doing workouts and to eating better. So rather than some bad personal trainers and like ill-informed people kind of going around saying, "Oh, eat less, move more," you need to understand that this is not an either or. This is a tool that can help increase access for people to movement and to improve nutrition. And that is so important. Plus, as we know, these medications, some of them are increasingly showing signals of like great cardiovascular possibilities for people and support. And particularly in other countries where they've been approved for different things, different parts of the world, medications are approved for different things. Like in America, for example, some of these medications are approved for sleep apnea, which is phenomenal to see. There's trials being done in relation to addiction and could some of these medications that. So whilst they're currently obviously being used for obesity, could you imagine going to somebody and saying, "Oh, just try drinking less alcohol"? You wouldn't if there was a medication that could help them. Or to somebody that suffered or was challenged with eating enough food, you wouldn't say to them, "Oh, just move less and eat more." So that stigma that is attached with obesity of just eat less, move more is shocking. And I'm hoping that like by sharing my journey and kind of all the bits and pieces that it's something that over time we can kind of, break down some of these. So folks, I'm just going to take a pause for a moment to look at some of the comments. Folks, if you're commenting on Facebook, I can't see them. That's the only thing I'll say, right? But you're welcome to DM me on Facebook and I will look right there. So just looking through some of the comments that are coming in. Someone asks, how do you deal with burnout? As in, I'm tired just all the time. Okay. So do you know what? Like, I think if somebody is struggling with their energy, I'd probably go back and again look at the nutrition, because the nutrition is what can help to fuel you and to help you with that. If you have never had an appointment with a registered dietitian, it is something that I would absolutely really encourage you to do. It's something that I think is worth its weight in gold in terms of getting that proper dietitian kind of advice. And again, a registered dietitian is somebody that is specialized in nutrition, but from a medical perspective, and is able to prescribe nutritional protocols based on like medicine or particular, say, ailments or stuff like that people might have. And that's where there's a big difference between, say, a registered dietitian versus, say, a nutritionist or a personal trainer, which I would call myself, because what might be very knowledgeable, and we absolutely can give general advice and stuff like that. Typically in Ireland, a nutritionist slash personal trainer will not be typically insured or have gone to the same level of qualification as a dietitian to be able to prescribe on the same basis as a dietitian. So that's why I'm always a big fan of people going and spending time with a dietitian when they're starting out. So, okay, going to go through some of the comments here as well. Hello, Anne. How you doing? Stephen, sorry, in relation to the DEXA, do you need a referral for it? So, Stephen, for the DEXA with GP care, no, you don't. You don't need a referral for that. You can self-refer. There are about 3 or 4 places around Ireland where you can self-refer for a DEXA scan. I tell you, if you are starting out on a journey, I wish I got one done on day one. That's one of my biggest regrets. I have taken my measurements, and I'm going to show some bits and pieces here. But the DEXA scan is one that I wish I had done on day one. Really, really, really do. But anyway, at any point, it's good to do it. But I've had 3 DEXA scans done, 3 or 4, 3, I think, which has still been interesting to do. But with GP care, you can self-refer. There's also a place in Limerick. Is there a place in Cork? Can't remember, but there's also a place in Dublin too. There used to be a place in Drogheda, but they now only do GP referrals. But yeah, GP care, you can self-refer. Well, Paddy, how are you getting on? How are you doing with the new treatment? Okay, so I recently changed my treatment from Mounjaro to Wegovy. This is what has been asked here. So I changed now, is it 3 weeks ago tomorrow? I think it is. And I would say the first 2 weeks were as expected, whereby I definitely had increased appetite, like very strong increased appetite. So I did. But I'm not alarmed by that. That is what I was told to prepare for. That is what I expected. I thought that, my weight would increase again. I will check that again in the morning. My weight did go up a bit, but I'm not worried about that, folks, because this is where, and I've done a separate video about this. Some people get very caught up in, oh my God, I'm on this thing 10 days now, my weight's gone up, it's not working for me. You cannot do that on these medications. You absolutely cannot do that. When you think about when you were starting out, I would hope that most people, the guidance you got was that, you're going to be looking maybe 3, 4, 5 months before your doctor will determine if this is the level of efficacy of this medication for you, i.e. if it works for you. So when you're changing medication, the guidance that I got is, Paddy, you need to allow time to see if this works for you as well, and potentially titrate up and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's really important to keep that in mind. I went from the highest dose of my previous medication down to a low dose of this new medication. So of course it's going to be different. Of course it's going to feel different. And people need to manage their expectations when they're going through that and not be making rash decisions or fears 1, 2, 3 weeks into this. When you're changing, because that is not how it works. You can't do that. It's so important that you are using that time to kind of look at, okay, am I maintaining my positive behaviors or habits, or have I leaned into that at all yet? Or was I hoping that the medication was just going to do all that to me? And now maybe if I've increased appetite and stuff like that, maybe I'm eating more, but am I using this as maybe, well, what's my triggers? Why am I going to this food? Why am I going to that? And because that is a huge part of this journey as well, is being able to understand that relationship with food. Taking a medication does not erase the need for you to understand your relationship with food and yourself. I'll say that again. Taking these medications does not erase the need for you to understand your relationship with food. You still need to work on that, and understand that. And that has been a big thing for me, particularly the whole idea of intuitive eating. That was something that was a bit of a head wreck for me at the start, trying to figure out, am I actually hungry? Is this physical hunger? Is it emotional hunger? All that kind of stuff. And I sat with that for weeks before I truly started to get my head around that. But it was one of the best things I've done. There's definitely still things whereby sometimes I'll still go to the fridge and open it. And I'll be like, why am I standing here? I'm not hungry. Now that I know what physical hunger feels like. Again, because that's just a learned habit and a learned behavior and a learned thing that I do, Lewis Hamilton has just announced his retirement from F1 Crazy. Incredible. Wowzers, Paddy, what a transformation. Thank you very much, Kathy. What was starting weight loss? So my starting weight, I'll bring up this slide here. So this is me when I was starting out. I was just over 24 stone. This is showing you then my weight loss up until pretty much kind of today, or October, November kind of time. So what you'll see first of all is that this is over purely on my medicated journey. So what you'll see is it is not a completely flat line, folks. There's ups, there is downs. You'll see one big up here in the middle. That was when I had to come off my medication for surgery in February time of this year, and I regained 15 pounds in about 3-ish weeks, which is a lot, but to me, again, isn't shocking because I know that's how my body works. I've always seen that very, very quick weight regain, but then when I've regained it and kind of got things back on track, then I lose that pretty quickly, and that's exactly what kind of happened again. But that's what that is there. So this was, these are in pounds here along the side, sorry. So I started on 336 pounds, which is just over 24 stone. And this is kind of the most recent period here, down to just kind of going on Wegovy. So it is, if that kind of helps there. The other thing I'm going to show you that might be of interest to some people is that I actually have, believe it or not, I have a weight chart going from 2012. Yeah, 2012 up until today. So what you'll see is 2012 was the year after the final of The Biggest Loser TV show, which was a program that I was on when I lived in the UK. And that is the one time I lost a significant amount of weight, and I got to 14.5 stone after that TV show. But what you'll see is the weight very quickly came back on, very, very quickly came back on. And it only stabilized when I went back over like the 20 odd stone mark, thereabouts. Well, I say stabilized. It's still, you can see my constant efforts, like down, up, down, up, down, up. Like I don't know how many diets you can probably count there. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That was my wedding. Like there's about 25 diets in there over the years that you can see that it's causing all those little spikes and all those little lines there. Um, so yeah, like it's mad. Um, Audrey, how are you finding we go, Paddy? Is there much of a difference, do you think, apart from the price wise? So as I say, Audrey, like at the moment, it's probably still very early for me to gauge. What I'd say is the first 2 weeks was as expected. I definitely had a lot of increased appetite, a lot of hunger, all that kind of stuff. The past few days, I have started to feel better suppression, which is great. I would actually say that my first kind of 3 weeks have been more positive than I had feared. And what I mean by that is I was very afraid that I was going to have side effects. And so far, I haven't. So far. Now, there is still a chance as I continue to titrate, but so far I have not had like side effects, and well, no side effects that would like impact my quality of life, that kind of thing. So yeah, there is, like, obviously with all these medications, the most common ones will be things like constipation, diarrhea, some digestive discomfort, and those kind of things can be normal. But you should still let your prescriber know if you're getting those, that they can keep track of your just how you're feeling, and what's kind of going on with you. But so far, Audrey, I would say it is going as planned, if not a bit better, because I don't have side effects at the moment. But we'll continue to see. The increased appetite definitely. Whilst I was prepared for it, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel nervous with that, because it definitely felt like a bit of a throwback to how things used to be, the constant desire for food, and that made me nervous. So it did, but I was expecting it, and once I had that bit of a real talk with myself, like, "Hey, Paddy, you knew this was going to happen." It was okay, to be honest. What was your starting weight? I'll cover that one there. Hello, Paul. Hello, Patrick. I think you can type Paddy now, folks. Somebody was able to type Paddy. I can't see much loose skin, if any. Hey, Sue. So yeah, the kind of skin. I'll bring up this photo again, like on the right hand side. Like you can kind of see there's a little bit of a sag underneath the belly, the belly button there, kind of, or maybe from the side might show it actually. Sorry here. So like, that's not all going to tighten. Like if you look at how I'll say how big my tummy was there on the left hand side, like that skin unfortunately doesn't evaporate. So it doesn't. It kind of has to go somewhere. There's only so much elasticity in it, so it'll never be tight. Like I would agree that there isn't much. Like if I look at some of, say, the YouTubers and some of the other people that have lost like over 100 pounds, there's literally like flaps of skin, like kind of on the arms, on the tummy. There's literally flaps like that they can lift up, and I know that's the reality for some people as well. I would say the place that I probably notice my skin the loosest, if I can call it that, is probably my upper legs, which in fairness is rarely, apart from when I wear my Paul Mescal wannabe O'Neill shorts, people probably aren't going to see. So, it doesn't really matter. But it's not like flaps. It's just fatty, like, or whatever. That's the one place, I guess, maybe where I'm kind of like, oh, I'm a bit more, can see it a bit more there. I am seeing actually the Facebook comments, folks, so you can go them there. Let's see, if you're watching on Instagram or on Facebook, feel free to type in any comments there. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook Live all at the moment, and actually YouTube, I forgot, all at the moment as well. You worked so hard too. Yeah, I did, and I'll be honest, I have worked hard. Like since week 1 of this, I was in the gym. Like there was some, particularly that first 3 months, my God, because I had been told when I was starting out, for me, and I can't say this is going to be the same for everyone, but for me, that the first 3 months were going to be the most critical for me. And I worked my ass off. I was getting up at like 5 o'clock, into the gym for 6 o'clock. There was multiple days where I was doing more than one gym session. Again, I'm not saying that this is what you should be doing, but I was in trying to get as much movement in as I could, stuff like that. So I really, really, really did put so much effort in, and not just to be hoping that a medication was going to like take care of everything for me, you know. Ashley, thank you. Starting Ozempic with deficit and exercise at new type 2 and 27 stone with high visceral fat. Ashley, best of luck. You got this. You absolutely got this. With the movement, what I'd say is, again, I'm a qualified personal trainer, so that's why I do feel comfortable giving, say, some generic or general kind of advice in this situation, is start with something, Ashley, that is going to be easy for you to adhere to. That might not be what your ultimate movement goal might be, in terms of, I want to get in and do like strength training and all that kind of stuff. If you can do that from day one, amazing, do that. Strength training is the best thing. But my approach was, okay, before I try and commit to be adhering to strength training, which I know I'd mental barriers to trying to adhere to at that point, I was like, do you know what? An easy thing for me to do is to go in and do a half-hour spinning class a few times a week and build a routine of movement. Then once I have the routine of movement built, I can adapt what those movement sessions are. So I would say for some people, it could be walking. For some people, it might be, do you know what? I'm going to go up and down the stairs maybe 5 times, and I'll do that 3 times a day. You know, it could be something like that. Something like that would be amazing. So find what works for you in terms of what is it that is going to be easy for you to adhere to, and then kind of build on that. And actually, best of luck. I'm so excited to see how that goes here, and do look back and let me know all that. Steve Trevor, makes a level playing field, most healthy way people don't have food noise. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It does kind of level the playing field in terms of the efforts that I am making. My body's working with me. Whereas before, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like my body was working with me before. So yeah, it's amazing. It is fantastic. Here exactly. Did you do, so let me just see here some other ones. Sorry, just catching up with some of the messages here. And I thought everyone had food noise. Sue was saying to Anne, I thought everyone had food noise. It makes it so much easier to stick to calories without it. Yeah, actually, an interesting one. I've never counted my calories really on this journey. It hasn't been something that has been my approach. I say I've kind of focused on the intuitive eating more so. Just looking through the messages here. I thought everyone. Oh yeah, we talked about the food noise. Yeah, it is much quieter. Well, Paddy, I'm wondering if you have any tips on keeping yourself motivated. I'm on MJ the last 9 months. Hey, Amy, how you doing? So, Amy, I think the thing for me is, in terms of motivation, this is going to sound a bit odd, okay? Motivation, I do think at times, is this falsity that people create to try and put a label on something, or to shift the responsibility to somewhere else. Oh, my motivation, I'm not motivated. When people are saying that they're low in motivation, or I'm not saying this with you, Naomi, but in general, the way that I interpret that is, you haven't created a strong enough bond between your why and your actions. And what I mean by that is, and I don't mean the number in the scales, like it could be, do you know what, it's really important to me that I'm able to go out and feel confident in maybe that pair of jeans, or I want to be able to go and run around with my kids in the garden, or I want to be able to A, B, C, or D. And the more that you sit with that and why that thing is important to you and reinforce that, the less you need to focus on motivation. Because motivation is a waning thing that comes and goes, and that is very transient. Whereas something like that outcome of, like, I'm going to be able to run around with my kids, or, do you know what, I want to start doing park runs, running, or, you know, that kind of thing, and really focusing on the why is it you want to do this. And I don't mean that all because, like, you know, all the girls are skinny, or all the lads are ripping the pee of me because of a beer belly, whatever. I mean, what is your real internal reason? What's the answer you'd say if nobody was listening and you weren't afraid of being judged? That's your why, and that's what you need to reinforce for helping you do the actions that you need to do in terms of movement, in terms of your nutrition and stuff like that. And equally remembering, though, None of us are perfect. And this isn't about being perfect at all. This is about just taking actions day in, day out that can help you along the way. And that will mean some days, some weeks, some months won't be great. All my weeks and months haven't been great. Absolutely, they haven't. Particularly the past kind of 2, 3 weeks have been far from it. You know, I was in England for a week. I've been changing medication. I've been eating a lot more sweet stuff and bits and stuff like that as well. Um, but I'm human, and I know that I'm going through a change of, I say, my medication and stuff like that. So right now, it's just about looking after my body in a way that, okay, listen, am I getting side effects? Do I need to adapt something? Stuff like that. You know, I was hoping that I would have been long at maintenance by now. I'm not, but that's okay. That's okay. You know. The weight set point is a killer. Yeah, set point is an interesting theory. So set point is this idea that our bodies have various points along a journey whereby it will not want to lose more weight. People way more intelligent than me and way more medically qualified, because I'm not, will sometimes talk about this. And the idea that once you reach a point, which some people might call a stall or stuff like that, that your body will resist everything to try and move by that. I have seen people being told that they won't move by it and that they need surgery, but then they have been able to through other lifestyle factors. I see myself now that, like, I'd say stay the same weight for maybe 7, 8 weeks, and then I might drop a couple of pounds. And again, I'm delighted with that. You know, I'm over 18 months on this journey, and I was told at the start that, you know, if I got to 9 to 12 months out of getting any, you know, continued response, that would be good. So the fact that I'm 18 months in and that I'm still feeling some kind of response, well, I'm delighted with that. You know, and this is the thing. It's about being able to put things in perspective and be happy with things, as opposed to, oh, well, this stopped working, or, oh, well, I've only lost 3 pounds in the past month, or whatever. It's so important to look for the positive things in this. Did you do a washout? Yeah. Well, so washout, Anne is asking, so that's where you change medication. So different prescribers might tell you different things. I did have to wait a period of time when changing medication. It varies depending on what medication you're changing from and to. They're not the same, depending on which way you're going, depending on what dose you're on, what one you're going to, all this kind of stuff. So that can vary for different people. But yes, there will be a period of time that you need to wait before you can start a next medication when you're changing over, and your prescriber should tell you that. Yeah, a lot of people have the apron. You don't. Yeah, so that's the one. Like I've been kind of lucky, I think, in that way, that as I said, the tummy is kind of very much just, yeah, soft. I say, because there is still fat there, but like not a huge amount. Let's say not a huge amount. But for the folks that are joining in, again, just a quick recap. My name is Paddy. This is my kind of before, and I won't say after. I'll say my current kind of pictures of my weight loss journey, which I started in June of last year. Here again is another little look at my weight loss during that period of time. Starting from June up until more recently. And as you can see, it's definitely not a perfect straight line, but the trend is downwards. And that's what people need to focus on, is the trend, as opposed to just a constant straight line, because that is absolutely not the reality of thinking that, you know, oh, it'll just go down, 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 down. It unfortunately doesn't work like that. There'll absolutely be times whereby, you know, your body will stall, or your body will potentially put on some weight again, or stuff like that. But yeah. Folks, feel free to put in any messages that you might have, or questions or stuff like that. You're welcome to pop them in here. I should be able to see them. I think I can see the Facebook comments. I think I'm using a different software that kind of pushes out to all the different platforms across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So I am first time I've done that, actually. But hello, appreciate you all hopping in as well. Obviously, TikTok is the main one, kind of where I kind of tend to go live. I don't typically go live on Instagram or that, but I just thought that tonight I would. Did I try it? I'm gonna see how it goes, you know. But I guess the next part of the journey for me is kind of figuring out then, right, if there is, I don't know, between 10 and 14 pounds left that I'd like to lose. I guess making sure that I'm doing the actions that I need to support that. And then kind of thinking to maintenance, you know, trying to figure out, is my current treatment the right one for me? that I'm on like the Wegovy, or is the case that I'm not a responder and that I need to think about the previous one again. But then anecdotally, what I've also heard is that when people say start a medication and stop it and start and stop it, that that response can be varied as well. That just because you got a response before doesn't mean that you'll get it again. So that's something I'm equally aware of. Um, Huku, hey Paddy, well done on the progress. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Hello Pat, hello Penny, hello Shelley. Yeah, if you are watching, folks, you're not following me, I'd love if you give me a follow. Obviously, coming up to this time of year is a big time where people start to think about kind of health and wellness and stuff like that. If you're curious on more about my own journey, who I'm with, and stuff like that, you can check the link in my bio, the Linktree bio the Linktree page in my bio. I have the details there. You can find out more. I also have in there actually all the episodes of The Biggest Loser from the year that I was on it. Because sometimes people ask me for that, oh, do you have your season of The Biggest Loser? So yes, I do. I have it linked there in like a Google Drive folder. ITV probably don't want me saying that, but anyway, it is. I've said this many times over the years, but hey, Noel, I've never actually watched The Biggest Loser from start to finish myself yet, which is mad. Like, given that I was on it. Now, it's a long time ago. It's like 30, it's going to be 14 years ago. So it is, Alan, I'm off MJ 8 weeks and down 3 pounds. I'm in the gym daily and eating good protein meals. Alan, well done. That is phenomenal. Obviously, the data shows when people come off the medication, there can be varied. The majority of people, the data shows, will regain a fair amount of the weight they lost, but then there will be a smaller amount of people who will be able to maintain, which is brilliant. I would love if I was one of those people, but I think life has probably taught me otherwise from previous things, but we'll see. But Alan, fair play. That is amazing. How long were you on your treatment, Alan, and what kind of success had you, or how are things? And again, if you are thinking of starting, folks, if you are on a journey at the moment, if you have any questions about nutrition or fitness, I am more than happy to try and answer those for you as well. Hi, Kelly. Kelly, where I was just saying, I think you can actually type the word Paddy now. Yeah, I know. I think you actually can. Yeah, I can tell who the OGs are when they try and do variances on my name on TikTok when they're typing it here. And because you used to be able to say type the word Paddy. I'm hoping it's about good habits. I was in it for 5 months and down 5 stone. Amazing, Alan. That is phenomenal. No more than myself, sounds like you're quite a quick responder. So fair play. That is absolutely brilliant. Kelly, Paddy, testing. Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant, Alan. And this thing, like, for some people, it may look like that just the habits side of thing will be enough, and that they don't need the biological support from the GLP-1 treatment long term. And if they don't, that is phenomenal, yeah. I say, folks, if you have any questions about my journey over the last 18 months, about me changing my medication, anything at all like that, feel free to type it in and I will try and answer it for you. You said you don't calorie count, but from your work, do you know max calories you should cut? Max calories you should cut. That's an interesting way to look at it. I don't know why this light keeps going off, actually. Max calories you should cut. I wouldn't necessarily look at things from the max calories you could cut. It's very individual. So I would kind of be looking at what is a person taking in at the moment and how is their weight responding to that. I would say, like, though, as like rule of thumb, if somebody was coming to me and saying, oh, I'm only eating like, say, 1,200 calories, or, say 1,000 calories, I'd be like, okay, that's quite on the low side, particularly for somebody that is obese. That is very on the low side. And, as I showed, again, 500 for maintenance, I wouldn't go by that rule of thumb, Sue. The reason being is, if you have a history, and again, I've got 2 or 3 different reels on this, okay? If you have a history of restricting calories over the years, like dieting and all that kind of stuff, and TDEE will not be an accurate approach for you. It will not be, okay? Because more than likely you will have some element of metabolic adaptation. So this is where it can be really good to go and get your resting metabolic rate tested, or to kind of see what is it. I went and got that done. If I had used a calorie calculator and just taken 500 away, it would have still had me at I think like 2000 and something calories, right? Just based on a generic TDEE calculator online. However, by me going into a specific sports lab and getting tested to see what is the true metabolic speed of my body, it was able to tell me that actually my metabolic adaptation was so low that my body only needs 1300 calories a day to survive, which is shocking. Shocking. Even the folks in the lab were shocked at how low it was. And again, that's because as we kind of showed here, there has been a lifelong period of non-stop dieting, and my body is adapted to deal with that. So that's where I'd say you can't, if you have a history of dieting severely and severe calorie restriction, I would be saying quite strongly, and this is something I'd say to my own clients, you cannot go by the online calculators. I am not a fan of them at all, of the calculations MyFitnessPal does or anything whatsoever like that. They will, for the average healthy person that is, has not had issues with their weight, yes, they could give them a more accurate ballpark. But for somebody that is obese and has a history of calorie restriction, I would not be advising somebody to use them. So I wouldn't. I would instead say, do you know what, go get some testing done on your resting metabolic rate, see what that shows you, and then work from there. Yeah, that's kind of a more comprehensive answer. Hopefully that helps you, because it is deeply individual. You cannot just say, take X amount of calories off, because it's going to be so different for everyone. Really, really is going to be so different for everyone. I don't know why that light keeps going off. Rude. It is probably just from Team With Up. I'm down 5,000, but losses have slowed. Not sure if I'm eating too much. 1,700. So, first of all, it's not always a case of needing to eat less. It can be looking at where is your movement coming in, what's the nutrient density of the food you're having, and stuff like that. So people can naturally have this assumption of, I just need to reduce the amount of food I'm taking in. That isn't always the answer. Like for myself, I'm not going to reduce the amount of food I'm taking in. I can't. Like the medication is already doing that. You shouldn't be dieting on top of the medication. The medication takes care of the suppression for you. So that's why you should be trying to, in my opinion, lean into understanding physical fullness and physical hunger, because that's your body's natural signals then that will stand you long term. Like, you don't want to be thinking 10 years time, I'm still going to be there at my MyFitnessPal. Where you have to think, 10 years time, I can still listen to my body on whether I'm full or not. And that takes time. That's not the type of thing you're going to learn in a week. That could take a month, could take 2 months, could take longer for you to understand the cues your body is giving you, because we have eaten our way through them for so many years, if you're like me, So again, like numbers, I think can be helpful for some people. I understand that absolutely, and like absolutely, I work with people that want to calorie count, and that's okay. But my preference, the ideal thing, I would say, from the optimum approach, would be moving away from tracking and numbers, because all you're doing is essentially replacing the scales with a calorie counter, and actually get more in tune with your body and what your body's kind of doing. Where is that lad? Alan, I'm wondering, are you on about the RMR testing? So the metabolic testing, loads of places around Ireland do that. And usually places that have like sports facilities, or some of the places that do VO2 max testing, some of them will have metabolic testing as well. Again, not overly expensive, maybe about €100, give or take. The same as the DEXA scan. I say these are the types of things I have tried to do over the last 18 months to give me a true understanding of my body, my progress, what I'm doing. Like I've got my blood work done every 6 months. I've got DEXA done, I think, every 6 months. I've got my metabolic testing done. Yeah, so like I've been trying to keep as informed as I can. Does it start to work at a particular dose? Not feeling any different on 2.5. Hey, Ryan, brilliant question. So, Ryan, I have the perfect video for you. If you check my page, I have one pin there about don't make this mistake when you're starting out. So on Mounjaro, 2.5 milligram is literally just a starting dose that is intended just to introduce the medication to your body. Some people may be quicker responders and may get a response to that. Not everybody will, and that's the norm. The norm shouldn't be suddenly people are expecting to lose a load of weight. So if you're not feeling anything different on 2.5, to me, I'm not hearing anything wrong with that. That can be normal for people, Ryan. Actually, I think what's on that video, I was surprised the amount of people that say that it was, I think, like the fourth step in the titration before they started to get a response. I didn't think it'd be that high, but a surprising amount of people said that actually. But yeah, Ryan, that video on my page, don't make this mistake, or the biggest mistake people make, something like that, I think it's called. I think I've a pin at the top of my videos on both TikTok and on Instagram. That will hopefully put your mind at ease. And what I'd say is that kind of dose of the 2.5, like this is where you're starting to think, okay, well, am I feeling any fuller? Am I not? Am I able to go longer before I need to eat again or not? So it's not necessarily just the weight loss, it's about what is the response that your body's getting. Because remember, the weight loss is a side effect of the therapeutic response. The medication itself is not the weight loss. That's what happens when the medication works and you feel the fullness and the suppression and all that kind of stuff. And best luck, Ryan, with that as well. Just seeing, is there any other questions here on the Instagram over here? Is that BMR test tiring, or do you just sit down? No, it's you just sit down. You do nothing. You just sit there and breathe. And put them, because the way that it's done is they measure the amount of calories that you expel when you're sitting still for 10, 15 minutes, could be maybe. You basically put like a oxygen mask, kind of. No, I lie. Some of them do that. This was they clip my nose and I have a tube in my mouth and I'm just breathing through that. And that then is basically measuring the amount of energy that I'm exhaling through my mouth. It's measuring all of it. You just sit there. Don't think it's like your mouth gets quite dry, but it's very easy to do. I don't have a recording off it, do I? I don't think I did a recording. I have some videos on it though, as usual. I have some videos on my page about the metabolic testing. But if you're curious about the calorie calculators versus metabolic adaptation, I say there's 2, if not 3 videos on my page. Go back maybe during the summer time and have a look through those, because I think they could be interesting ones to watch. Cool. God, we're live already, almost an hour. Jeepers. Any other questions, folks? Anything else you would like to ask? I am intending just to be on for the hour, so which would mean about another 5 minutes or so. Trina, what was the reason for moving weight loss clinic? So the previous clinic I was with, I was not happy with the level of service that I was getting from them. I also found them unprofessional, is what I'd say. And I was in a different place in my journey from where they were in terms of being able to support me, I felt. And I just, it's not one that I personally would be, if someone comes and asks me about places, it's not a place that I would say to people. If I'm honest. Now that's based on my experience, and be very mindful of that. The current provider that I'm with them for the past year now, and I found them great. Full disclosure, I do paid collaboration work with them as well. I always call that out so that people don't think I'm in any way shady or that I'm not being transparent. But I only started doing that from the summer with them. I had been a private patient prior to that as well, kind of with them. I'm still a private patient. I still pay for my medication and everything like that, like everybody else. So if you want to know more with them, you can check the link in my bio as well. TikTok, some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. What are you saying? Who's using bad words? Huh? Who's using bad words, or what's going on there? Cool, folks. We're into the final 3 minutes. If there is any questions you would like to have, don't forget the referral code in the bio. Yeah. Thanks, E. You're better at mentioning it than me. There is a referral code, but and this thing I do sometimes feel awkward mentioning that I have a referral code in it because I earn €40 when people use the code. Now you get €40 off as well, but I hate the idea of people thinking, oh, he's only saying use the referral code, so he makes €40. And honestly, it's not that. I love when people save money, but I'll always say, oh, if you have a friend that's with my BMI either, like they'll have a code, use theirs instead of using mine. Do you know? So that's why I kind of am a big pusher of my code, because I just don't want people thinking I'm trying to make money off the back of them, because that's not the case at all. But if you're somebody who's like, oh, I don't know anybody else that's with them, or don't want anybody else to know, absolutely, I have that link to my bio that you can kind of check out. But that's why I don't mention it. Just full transparency. Coolie booty. I think we are up to date, are we? Let me just see here. Just checking Instagram. Okay, yeah, Instagram. Just going to check Facebook. Yeah, and checking TikTok. How are you getting on with the new GLP-1? Carol, so yeah, as I say, I would say getting on better than I'd expected. Like when I transitioned over to the new medication, I expected that I might regain some weight. I expected that I might have increased hunger, which I have had all of that. So that's as expected. The one concern I had was about side effects, because I'm somebody that has been so fortunate with like minimal side effects over the last 18 months. And that would have just been a killer if I suddenly started having bad side effects. Now I could do as I titrate up, but as of now, I have not had side effects, anything out of the norm. So on that, I'm going to take it as a win. Like I know I still need to give like another couple of months for me to see, is this something that's going to be sustainable for me, or like in terms of that I'm a responder to, and get the same therapeutic support. So that's grand. I know this is a bit of a longer kind of thing for me. If my real BMR is 1300, what calories do I need to eat to lose? Fake numbers, just curious. So I would not be going below 1300. I would not be advising anyone to, like I would be looking at movement and quality of food and kind of protein intake and fiber and stuff like that. And for myself, like I say, mine was 1300. So this is where I'm looking at, okay, well, how much calories am I burning naturally just through movement? Where's the opportunities for me to increase that movement? Not necessarily intense movement, if anything, the opposite. Like if I'm already doing that, because I am already in the gym, but like things like say gentle walking or other bits and pieces. So instead of looking, and this is what I'm saying, instead of always looking to reduce, sometimes it's about adding, is what I'd say. It's taken me a couple of months to settle. Food suppression is good. I'm a slow responder. Yeah, Cara, I would say what I found is that a lot of people that say they're slow responders, they're actually a normal responder. And it's because social media, and I'm very aware of this, and this is why I'd always say, like, I am not the norm in terms of how quickly I responded, nor, Alan that mentioned he lost 5 stone in 5 months earlier. We're not the norm. Folks that lose it slower, that is the norm. And I always give that disclaimer when we're talking about weight loss, because again, this isn't a diet, it's a medical treatment, and you can't compare yourself to other people. And I know like social media obviously has come up with fast responder, slow responder, and some doctors use it as well. But I think if you are trending downwards, that is positive, regardless of if it's slow or fast. And I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that in one of the information bits I was reading about the trials, that when you looked over the same period of time for somebody that was a fast responder versus slow responder, as that fast responder started to slow down, because they don't stay fast forever, the slow responder actually caught up with them in terms of overall percentage of weight loss. So that's where it's important to keep in mind as well, the bigger picture, and not just the week in, week out, or month in, month out kind of approach as well. Mimi in Oz. Oh my God, Mimi. Quick good morning from Australia on the bus on my way to a course, folks. Mimi is somebody who I'm hoping if I speak really nice to, I might be able to get on the podcast for a chat. Mimi is somebody who has been part of the clinical trials in Australia for the triple agonist medication. And please, if you're not following Mimi, if you do not know Mimi, go give her a follow, go look at her videos. They are fascinating. We know on this side of the world, we're just seeing an awful lot of illegal medications being promoted. And if you're looking for insights from somebody that has been on it legitimately as part of a controlled trial, go and look at Mimi's content. Because it's amazing. And I'd actually heard Mimi on Dave's podcast, I think it was months ago, was it podcast or YouTube live stream? I think it could have been YouTube live stream. Can't remember, Mimi. So I was aware a few months ago actually from that as well, and I thought, oh my god, I need to hunt out this woman. So amazing. Let's just see what else have we got here. Yes, I sent a message to your colleague. Oh, to Belinda. Amazing. Okay, great. If Belinda doesn't get back to you, Mimi, I'll get on to you. Belinda's not great at the outlet min. I know she's fab. Better say that. Yeah, so Mimi, fascinating. And it's really interesting because I think with Mimi as well, the thing that's interesting is what you've moved to, and because the cardiovascular kind of benefits and stuff like that you've been the reasoning that's been told for you to go to that one versus what I think a lot of people would have been told in terms of tirzepatide, which isn't the one that you were told go to. So that's fascinating as well. But there's so much for me, so much amazing content on your page in relation to the trial. So it is like all I seem to do when I'm on like social media is like reporting pages that are selling like fake medications. And some of the platforms are just like, meh, which is so disappointing, so disappointing, you know. But Mimi, big love from Ireland, honestly. And thank you so much for sharing all of the insights that you have on your page. It's amazing, and it's yeah, a pretty unique insight to be able to get on your page. And I hope your course goes well today as well, actually. Yeah, so I do. Where are we? I got excited there, Mimi. So, okay, we're going over by 5 minutes, but sure, look at folks, I'm going to do a final call out in case there's any questions that anybody wants to ask across Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I am. Hi, Paddy. Will the live be uploaded as a podcast? Trev, how are you doing? Trev, you always ask that. You always ask, will it be uploaded as a podcast? It won't be uploaded as a podcast, Trev, but it will be on. It will be somewhere. I just don't know where, because I'm streaming to YouTube right now, to Facebook, to TikTok, and to Instagram. So it'll be on some of those places. It will be somewhere, Trev. I hope you're doing well. Also, I haven't chatted to you in a while, but hope you're keeping good, mate. I'll just see. Unfortunately, I regularly get pinged because of the yeah. The legal sellers are shocking, absolutely shocking. Yeah. Cool. Okay, folks, I'm going to give it like 10-15 seconds in case there's any final questions, and if not, we are going to end things there for tonight. It is currently 10:05 here in Ireland at night, depending on where people are. I have work at 7 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for joining me, and more than that, thank you so much for all your support, folks. I am going to try and I used to do lives nearly every week, and I am going to try and get back and do them more frequently again, because I love getting to connect with you folks. And whether it's like one person that hops in or 100, whatever, it's irrelevant, because I really appreciate the time that people take out to listen to the podcast or to watch the videos or whatever the case might be. So thank you so much for all your support. It means the world to me, more than you'll ever know. And I honestly mean that, because like I know a few people in real life, as in like day-to-day life, that I meet who are on a similar journey, but most of my people are online. So, I think people forget that whilst I might be on here creating content, you are my community as well. As in, like, you folks matter to me because you're my connection to other people that are, on similar journeys to me. And I genuinely mean that. Anyhow, I will shut up there now. And thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday night or Monday morning if you are Mimi, and have a lovely week ahead. And I will try and get another live done over the next week or so, folks. Okay? Mwah. Big love from Ireland.